Hi everyone, we're going to do an individual multi-part series on the Starriors. I haven't made a video in quite some time. Um, I like to kind of go off of these talks just off the cuff and just kind of talk about the characters as I know them and what I think is so great about the Starriors as a whole. And I'll be showing you my collection as we go. This figure that we're going to talk about today, his name is Slice. There were two series of Starriors, of the Wasters series, and we'll talk more about that. But this was in the second series. He's under the they had these confusing nomenclature for the Starriors. They were the Destructor class. There were two sets of Starriors, Destructors and Protectors. The Protectors were on Earth while man's in suspended extended sleep to protect against solar flares. The Starriors are out in the world and basically preparing it for man's eventual return. The Destructors were there to fend off any sort of mutants or alien beings or what have you that could destroy the Earth. Then the Protectors were out there to basically work the lands to make it prepared again for man. So this is Slice is one of the Destructors, as you can see right here on the packaging. These stand-up figures, basically any figures with legs and arms or legs and upper extremities, they're called Wasters. So he's of the Destructor class, and the code name would be a Waster. One of the things about the second series of toys is that the color schemes were much more vibrant. So you had a lot of less exciting colors, some whites, some blues, some grays, darker shades. When they came out with the second series, everything was very, like I said, very vibrant. A lot of reds and purples and bright greens and yellows. And Slice definitely fits that bill. Starriors are really cool because they have detachable parts in their arms and legs, so you can actually mix and match figures, which I always thought was fun and we would totally do. Legs, arms come off, head comes off as well. As you can see, kind of on the inside, maybe there's actually this tiny little silver figure that's shaped like a man. We used to think when we were kids that this little figure inside was actually like man controlling the robots. That's not the case. It's actually supposed to be basically their brain or their internal computing system, but it's shaped like a man, presumably just to kind of remind the robots of man's eventual return. Every Starriors figure has some sort of special function. Now, in the case of Slice, he has this really cool spinning double axe. Obviously would serve as a weapon. All of the Starriors, Wasters, their mechanism or their special weapon is a wind up, where it actually has inside a locking feature, so you could wind it up, lock it, and then when you release the unlock, the feature would go. Now, most of my Slice figures, and I have quite a few, because these toys are a little over 40 years old, do not work. Now, I do have an example of one that does work. This Slice figure, as you will see, really cool. It's basically a redecorated version of this Starrior. This is actually technically not a Starrior. This is a similar figure made by TOMY that was released in Europe under the Robot Anti-Terror Squad, or RATS. It's the exact same figure, but they use different colors. Not all of the figures that were released in the US were released in Europe, but in this case, Slice was one of them. And let's see if I can get his mechanism of action. It's the same idea. It's got the locking mechanism here, so we can unlock and see if it operates. Oh yeah, it's trying. So basically, yep. So I apologize, but you get the basic gist of it. Not all my Starriors operate, these wind-ups are old, but in some cases we can get these to operate. But this is a spinning axe. Slice is also one of the few figures that actually appears to have a an actual hand, probably making him, in theory, a more functional Starrior. A lot of these had like, you know, sort of like claws or things of that nature, but he actually appears to have a hand with opposing digits. You can see his thumb is actually kind of tucked away in there. So for the geeks out there that want to actually think about these Starriors in terms of their functionality on Earth, Slice would actually appear to be probably pretty darn functional if he had opposing digits on his left hand. We'll look at the packaging here. One of my favorite parts of the Starriors was the packaging. They all had this blue outline with these little firecrackers, and each Starrior came with its own small mini comic. There were a series of comics that tied into the 4-part Marvel comic series. And these were like basically little side stories. I can't recall off the top of my head, forgive me if Slice actually had his own comic. I don't believe so. I know Bolar did in the second series. All of the second series toys, just kind of an interesting little side note, all of their arms in the packaging are upright, like they're saying touchdown. Whereas all of the series 1 figures, all of their arms are down. I have no idea why they did that, but that's just kind of a cool thing. Arms are up. This one's still in really good shape. You can see, you know, the nice bubble. On the back, you can see the Series 2 figures. Ripsaw, Flash Fist, Twin Blade, Slice, Bolar, and Clawgut. I believe Clawgut was my first ever Starrior toy that I got. I spent a year or two while I was collecting Starriors as a little kid trying to find Bolar. He was actually he was impossible to find. It wasn't until college on eBay I was finally able to get my first Bolar figure. But there's Slice. I had Slice as a kid. Definitely Clawgut, Slice, soft spot in my heart because I had these as a kid growing up. Flash Fist is also one notoriously hard to get your hands on. But Slice, definitely one of my favorite figures. He stands up very easily. And sometimes they're kind of hard to stand because they actually have rollers on the back, so they can kind of roll a little bit. But he's actually one of the figures that's pretty darn easy to stand up. And so it's kind of fun. I wanted to show you my Slice character, my Robot Anti-Terror Squad Slice figure, and then I'll show you all my Slice characters here in just a minute with those on card to complete the collection. Please comment below if you have anything to say about Slice, or if I missed anything or anything you wanted to add. I do have a very large Starriors collection, so I will be showing most of my figures as time goes on. These are near and dear to my heart. I collect stuff, obviously. You can see my video games in the background, but this is by far my favorite thing of all. I've been working on this collection for, 20 plus years. I had these all as a kid. My story is my mom ended up selling all of my Starriors when I was a little kid, and so it took me quite a while until I was able to restart my collection in college. And so since college on, I've been collecting these and have a pretty nice collection. So I'll be happy to show these as time goes on. Thank you. All right, and I'm going to show you my in-package Slice figures and my loose characters on top. And it's a special treat. There's my Rats figure. Battle Rats, you can kind of see, and this is what these toys were susceptible of having happen. His head kind of lifted and spun around, so his head is actually backwards, but he's got the touchdown look just like all of the figures. And so you can see here all of my loose Slice characters, and this guy we put his arm on backwards and we double bladed him, so he's cool. And I really appreciate you watching the video. Please like and subscribe, and look forward to the next video, which will be on Clawgut. Have a great day. Thank you.